Yep.
All right. Get it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Writers Not Biters, our first Zoom Room Kickback. Yes, welcome. My name is T.
I'm Kev.
And I'm Elijah.
And we the squad.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background about us. Writers Not Biters is a St. Louis writers room based out of home. And we felt that it was definitely a time for us to have some type of room, a creative hub where we can start telling Black perspectives, Black stories, and most importantly, getting our life out on screen. Why not? So we all came together and we created this awesome room, and here we are. It took us some time to figure out exactly where we want to go, how we want to do it, what was our lane, how do we build our blocks. And a year later, this is where we have started. So the quarantine has been good for the crew. I will say that. I speak on all of us. I speak on behalf of all of us.
Yeah.
So anybody else want to introduce themselves so we all know each other's names?
Go ahead and hit the unmute on everybody.
Hey everybody, I'm Vanetta. It's love and call me Netta.
Okay.
What's up, everybody? My name is Mike Cole. Also writer myself, artist, and all of that. Just came to support and everything. Show some love.
There we go.
Hey
Check out.
everybody, I'm here right now. I'm from Howard. I'm from St. Louis. I went to Howard HU.
You know.
Yeah, and that's about it. Cause I'm kind of like going crazy having this mess off in the store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Carrie, and being dedicated.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump right into the agenda. First on the docket.
Story. That's what we're rocking with.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
who's gonna start
story.
first?
Overall view, y'all. How did y'all feel about Black as Fuck? Overall, the entire storyline, episode 1 through I think it's 8.
Like the entire concept, what y'all felt about it. Yeah.
Who's starting off?
I'll go first.
I can go. I thought it was cool. As far as the story goes, I mean, you know, it seemed like a pretty linear story, but wait a minute, sorry, I gotta admit somebody. It seemed like a pretty linear story. It's just I just didn't feel like the story matched the name. That was just it. That was me.
You gotta dig deep into it. Whoa, first and foremost, we have an extra person. Ashley. Studio Speed is here. Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
Hi. Oh man, we in the building. So everyone, this is Ashley, my brand strategist, by the way. Just a little plug. It's my girl. It's my girl. So Ashley, Vanetta, Carrie, Mike Cole, Elijah, Kev, welcome. We are so excited to have you. Hey, girl.
Hey.
So
Welcome
we were starting off the agenda and we were talking about the entire storyline. So we have an agenda and we're going to flow through it through conversation. Kev was just stating about how he felt about the story, and then anybody can jump in. You just hit the thumbs up when you want to speak on it, and we just having a general conversation, and we are guiding it for us. So,
Okay.
All right. Cool. Kev, back to what you were saying, because I'm about to go in on your ass for real.
I mean, you can go. It's just like I said. For me, after I watched the entire thing, like I said, I just didn't feel like the title of the show matched the show. I just didn't, and it's like I said, I don't have anything negative to say about the story except for a few things that I felt were kind of forced. But like I said, yeah, that was like my biggest thing was just like it didn't match. Hey, that was for me. You said what?
Why didn't it feel black as fuck?
Yeah. What made it not black as fuck?
I wouldn't say that it didn't. It's just when I hear that title, it has a certain weight to it, or like it brings a certain presence to it that I feel like the show didn't have. Like it didn't match. Like the title and then the title entrance, unapologetically black, all those things. It just, for some reason, it didn't connect with me. Those two things with the overall story and the characters, it didn't connect for me.
Does anybody else feel that way?
I don't.
Go in, Ash. Tell them how you feel, girl.
No, I mean, so I actually enjoyed the show. I can see where people had problems with it. From what I could see, people had a lot of problems with, like, I guess the classism of them having money and people not being able to relate to that, relate to that, and then people had problems with their parenting style. But I think there may have been some like double consciousness going on where, like, the dad wanted to be black as black as fuck, but he just didn't know how to maintain it, in this new world that he had to navigate,
Yeah.
with his richness and being around white people and whatnot. So he wanted to maintain his blackness, but he just wasn't in an environment where, it could be celebrated as much as he wanted it to be. And then
Right.
he had his wife who, I guess she wanted to be black as fuck but couldn't really, fully relate to it. And then they obviously did not pass that on to the kids at all.
No, they didn't. They didn't. And I totally agree. I totally agree with you, because it's one of those things where you have to really, like, figure out what do black people look like when we have money? Like, what type of life do what's LeBron James household really like? What's Dwayne Wade household really like? Like, is it just as bougie as that, or is it just the fact that they wasn't black enough because of the colorism thing or because of the classism thing? I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was freaking phenomenal, simply because we're at a time now where, like, black perspectives are broad. Black perspectives are broad to where, there are interracial marriages and, procreating children that are kind of like mixed in between. I personally believe that light-skinned people and mixed people need to share their perspectives on how hard it is being black and being white. Hence he created mixedish and blackish and all of those things. Like, what does that look like? And yeah, we can't relate to it, but that doesn't take away the writer's perspective, because it's literally based off his actual life. And that's where I'm like, what, Kev? What, Kev? What?
I mean, I did some research on the writers' room. All of them weren't black, which plays into some things that I was gonna mention.
Okay.
So, I mean, it is based off his life, but the fact that you have a show called Black as Fuck, and
you have white writers writing about it.
Yeah, it's a certain level of degree they can't write. It's because they can't understand it. It's a certain degree of things that they don't understand. Now, of course, they might have friends that can tell them, but it's a level of understanding that we have because we've experienced those things that we can write about. One of the things that I was paying attention to in the filmmaker tweetathon on Thursday was a lot of writers were saying, write what you know, write from experience.
Yeah.
So it's just like having that many, having those, different, nothing's wrong with that, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's just like, it can't be as fully as authentic as, I wouldn't say as I would like to be, but to me, it's just, when I see those things, it just kind of means it's not as fully as authentic as I felt it could be. But I'll let you get back to what you were saying.
Yeah, and I agree with you about that, about the writing. I think that's the one thing that made me feel awkward, and what I didn't like most about the show was that I just can't see black people interacting this way, or like interacting this long, like talking about random things like about his chain, like in the first episode. It just was really drawn out to me. And so at first I thought it was corny until like the story started to grow over the season. And I was like, oh, okay, I see the type of messages they're trying to get across in each episode. But it was still, I don't know, it just didn't seem smooth the way the transitions of dialogue went with each character and how the story went. I think it could have been smoother. And maybe if they had more Black writers, like you said, you know, it could have, I don't know, it could have been more relatable.
Yeah. Mike Cole had something to say.
Yeah, I was about to tag him in.
I do want to give a disclaimer to say I've only watched up until the Tyler Perry episode. So I've only seen like about, I think,
that was good.
third. I did like that episode, but as far as speaking on the whole story, I feel like this is one of those series where you can watch any episode out of order and it would still make sense to you. I don't really feel like there was emphasis on the story because it almost seemed like every episode was its own like concept. And there was like a slight threading of all of them, but it was like not very fluid. Like you said, Elijah, like it didn't feel very smooth with that transition. But to speak to what you said, Kev, I do agree. I don't feel the title fit only because it's like, what's the definition of Black in the context of this show? Because I feel like that word alone and the culture that rides behind that word is so vast. It's like Black means many things to many different people. So it's almost like, I feel like if I was to have a son or daughter and have them watch this show and to have a show called Black AF, I don't feel like that's an accurate depiction of what Black is. So that's just my opinion though.
May I chime in? Because we're still talking about the story. I agree. I agree. I think we all have like good perspectives on what Black as fuck should look like. But let's not forget about how he internalized it through each episode. It started off with because of slavery, still because of slavery, always and forever because of slavery. And in each episode, it was a correlation of like our culture. For example, episode 1, I called it Sunday's Best because he was the daughter basically talked about like the reference of being good Christians and presentation equals acceptance. So I'm finna challenge everybody. Are we ingrained in our mind in our mindsets to feel like because it wasn't presented Black as fuck, it's not acceptable?
No, that wasn't my reasoning for saying that. It was just, like I said, it just that title and the characters in the story, it, like I said, it was just like it didn't match. Like, and that's something I want to talk about too. Like those pieces of knowledge they were trying to drop, sometimes it felt forced for me. Yeah. It felt very forced, and it didn't, like I said, and I think that goes back to having people that are writers that actually aren't Black, you know, because when I was watching them and, you know, the thing would pop up and I was just like, some of them actually flow, but then some of them was just like, why is this here? This feels very awkward here in this particular episode and the dialogue leading up to it. But that's off to something totally different. But to kind of get back, what you say?
I was gonna say, but I don't think it's about questioning if it's black as fuck. Just to answer your question, T, I don't think it wasn't a question for me. It's just really about the writing. And even though, you know, I may not make as much money as him, I still like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which is about a upper class Black family. And I felt like when they talked about different subjects, it was still entertaining, and I liked how it flowed. And I just didn't get that with Black as Fuck.
I think their characters is which is our second thing we need to talk about. Our characters is what made the tidbits of information that they were dropping more like prevalent to talk about it. Because I mean, like you stated, he started off the episode talking about his chain and this and that and the other, and he was like really, really like he had a really great attachment to his chain. But then it talked about like the psychology of why we're like that with material things, or why we feel like the standard of white America is where Black people need to be. Like, who else is talking about that? You know what I'm saying? There you go, Kev. What, Kev?
No, I'm thinking. Like I said, I don't have a problem with him dropping that knowledge. It was just the way it was distributed. But Carrie, go ahead and tap in. I'll let you get yours off.
Let me know if I'm breaking up because I'm driving.
Okay.
Do I sound good?
Yes.
Yeah, you good.
Okay, cool. I think along with characters, one of the biggest things that didn't stick right with me in the show, probably the biggest and the only thing, was the actors playing the characters and how well were they able to embody their character. Because to me, Black as Fuck reminded me of just a cursing version of Blackish, and I love Blackish. But the difference I saw is like, you got in Blackish, you have Tracy Ellis Ross, who identifies as mixed, but she's also part of the Black community as well. Whereas like Rashida Jones can't even tell you a movie she's been in. I can't tell you nothing apart of the Black culture experience other than her daddy being Quincy Jones. And I feel like that was a lot of the reason why people had pushback. So for something with a title so strong as Black as Fuck, and then you have the mother who, in my opinion, kind of skates by with passing, because she can easily pass as a white woman, and she has played those roles before. And I think that's the main thing that's getting people a little eerie about the whole show in general.
Ashley had something to say.
So yeah, I hear Carrie's point to that, but I think all in all, in acting, I think Rashida did a good job in, doing something new, because it's true, we don't really see or identify her much in the Black community with her career. That's true. But I mean, Quincy Jones is still her dad. Her sister dated Tupac. Like, she's connected. She know, and she will correct you. I've seen moments where she's corrected people on the red carpet, asking her about her tan. She's like, "No, I'm Black." Like, nah. You know what I'm saying? But I think she did well in entertaining us in this role. And I like the daughters. I did like the two oldest daughters, but those are the two that kind of grew up while their parents were kind of building their wealth. And then the younger three, or however many is under the two daughters.
Yeah, they had hella kids.
Right, and you still don't see the baby. The same thing that happens in mixed, but the other kids, they're the ones that are disconnected because they didn't grow up with, they grew into the wealth already. They were born into it, rather.
Right.
Right.
So those kids, their characters are kind of, lost and not fulfilling to me. I kind of like how the oldest daughter is kind of the narrator and kind of leading the story from her perspective. But yeah, that's just me. I think that Kenya himself, really took on the Larry David role just a little too much and didn't really make it his own. So there is a lot of long dialogue and ranting that is just, kind of unnecessary to me. That was very, it kind of made the show boring, in a sense, just having his long rants. And it just, like I said, it just didn't really feel that original. It felt very much like Larry David, and you can see like he makes a long thank you for, I guess Larry David giving him inspiration and whatnot. And then again, I think that the show has a lot of Modern Family inspiration into it too. If y'all have ever seen that, it's just all under one household. How the show is filmed, and then like just how the characters kind of interact with each other. It's just a very dysfunctional, just a dysfunctional family all under one household.
Yeah. And do you think that, now, let me ask y'all this, since we're segueing into characters, do you think that these are real characters from, I'm trying to say it in the best educated way, but I'm gonna just say it like this. Do you think this how niggas act when they got money? Like, do you think they, like, their children, their youngest children who grew into the wealth, like you said, Ashley, are they grown into just having a blindsided eye of like, yeah, I'm Black, but I'm rich, and I'm like, I don't know any better. Like, because we did see a lot of ranting. We did see a lot of spoiled ass shit. Like, especially with Kenya, like having his moments where he was ranting. And it was like, are Black people who have wealth so disconnected to where they don't know what the fuck to talk about? Like, again, like.
So, we have we have what's the show? The kids of like hip hop stars and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, growing up hip hop. Yeah.
Growing up hip hop. I mean, we got that. That's one perspective of kids kind of growing into wealth and just like, they're completely irresponsible and whatnot, and like have no regard for how to survive in like the real world and whatnot. So like, what I'm saying? I think there's varying perspectives. It just depends on how you're raised, you know what I'm saying? And I guess Kenya and Kenya and the wife, she was working, making all the money. Kenya was trying to come up and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then they became disconnected with the money and like the family life. Like they didn't maintain it. But there are plenty of black families out here that are like, nah, you gotta go to a HBCU and this, and you know
Word.
what I'm saying? Like I think there's varying perspectives regardless of if you have wealth, if you're in a different class or whatever. It's just your values and how you communicate that with your kids. You know what I'm saying? I don't think class is always the issue here. I think that people just want that to be an issue for this show because it's just not a show that we've seen before.
That we can
We don't
relate.
we don't have we don't have shows showing black people with money, and definitely not showing it like in this fashion. It's just like rappers. You know what I'm saying? Rappers and entertainers are the only black people you get to see with money on the screen.
Yeah, that
And
is true.
that's not the whole story.
That's not enough. Yeah. Yeah. Michael, you raised your hand. What did you have to say on that?
I agree with Ashley. I do feel it depends on the parenting and I feel like a big aspect of it comes down to communication, because that's one thing to really like real quick segue back to characters. I feel like it was they had a lot of great like opportunities of teaching moments, because I feel like the way I was raised growing up in the late 90s, but like really more so 2000s, is going to be different from somebody born in the later like 2020s and everything, because of the social just aspect of things nowadays. Like, I
Right.
feel like there's so much more pressure on those social type of things. So I feel like how you communicate with them is going to take a lot more sensitivity because of the sensitivity within the market of the social aspect. But also like speaking on like cause I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the girl name, but it was a light skinned daughter where she was like real hard and stern in the beginning.
She
That
was
she
hella masculine.
I'm
I'm glad.
hip.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
she
yeah.
went to twerking, and I'm like, that was a big switch. I thought she was gonna
That-
turn out gay, like by the end of the
yeah.
season.
She
You
was
feel me?
mean as a motherfucker. Yeah.
So
She
I
was
was Izzy. That's her name. So I was thinking to myself, like, I think that's a real aspect of just like some people, like literally, like to be sensitive about the topic. But I think a lot of people are just confused. So I
yeah.
think to speak on that, it could have been a great opportunity to break that dialogue down. But like Kevin said, they'll throw like certain historical facts in there. I feel like that would just distort it, and in my opinion, kind of water it down. That could be more confusing for the issue they're trying to drive home, rather than actually being informative and educational. So that's my take on that.
Anybody else? That was
I
okay.
forgot what I was about to say. I was about to say something, and I low key forgot.
Okay. People like,
I
well,
forgot what was
actually.
I about to say. Man, what was I about to say?
Actually, we have a new person, iPhone. I don't know who that is, but we want to say hello and welcome you to Writers Not Biters Zoom
What's
Room.
happening?
Hello.
Just to let you know, this is being recorded.
Yeah. So, all right.
Welcome.
Welcome.
But man, I really lost my train of thought. I had something for oh, side note, I've never watched any of like grownish, mixedish, or blackish, none of that. So like I didn't know what to expect going into it. Which is actually great for me. Because like I said, I felt like if I did, I probably would have like tried to make connections or whatever and be like, okay, I understand
We
why
all
this.
did. Yeah.
But luckily for me, I didn't. So I was like, oh, this is kind of new for me to see this. But it's like from the clips and things that I have seen of those shows, it kind of gave me that vibe. But I don't know if that was just maybe just me.
Okay. Okay. I so
That
how
was a total segue, but sorry.
it's perfect. Like in regards to like the characters, so like from the children, I think I think I'm just still stuck on the fact that like right now we don't know what all Black people go through. I mean, we know what we go through as a collective, but what does that look like being when it comes to classism, ageism, colorism? Like we really don't know. Like for this to be based off of Kenya's life, like what am I trying to say? We can dissect it as far as we want to go, but you know, at the end of the day, it's one of those things like, can you really take away that the title doesn't match? And here's another thing that I wanted to tap on. So even though like to some folks, like the knowledge that was given in the show was a little like, you know, strung out, or, you know, it didn't flow well with the storyline. A lot of those like tidbits came from Kenya Barris and Rashida Jones, especially when Rashida talked about adultification. And it was some very, very, very big things that I felt was very important that we should address, because I don't really see that anywhere else on television being talked about. So it was episode 3. It was the Juneteenth episode, and it was basically saying how society sees Black girls older than their age. It became a plan, like it really is an epidemic right now, to where it started from slavery, and it is basically a narrative placed on Black girls to justify the horrible things that are asked of us. And that came from Rashida Jones, because she was on Deezus and Mero earlier this week, and she talked about how that was personal to her in her life. So, you know, young Black girls get labeled as too fast, too grown, too this, too that. And it's really just because America looks at young Black girls more older than what they should be. And then it kind of erases our childhood. That is important, and that came from Rashida Jones. Like, she was like, I pushed that for her to be a part of the writers' room and the executive producer and direct, and she was like, I really pushed it because that was big to me. So I think her character, and then like showing like the different types of daughters that she had, the masculine aggressive daughter, the bookworm daughter, then she had like the social media daughter, and you know, it kind of showed how through growing up, all of those perspectives count and matter. Because I used to be an awkward Black girl too. I used to be super tomboyish with an attitude, and then I went into a phase of like, you know, being a shy bookworm, because I just didn't know how to express myself through the social media world, you know. So it kind of, that talking about characters, I think that's something that we have to address, and saying like that was very important to show, and that I agree.
I think
Somebody raised their hand, but I wanted to say
Tag
on this right quick.
Bonetta.
What, huh?
Bonetta was finna say something.
Oh.
All right, so I understand what you're saying, T. I think from my perspective, and I don't necessarily, I just look at all writing kind of differently, but it kind of almost seemed like it was more emphasis put in on the dad and the mom's character than all the rest of the characters. Like, all the rest of the characters, it just seemed like it was kind of rushed. Like, hurry up and get to the point, but then the dad and the mom would go on for days. And that was kind of just weird. Like, I don't know, like the transitions were weird. And then when you have like weird transitions, you kind of get lost. Like, yeah, the message, all of the messaging was dope to me. But you get confused because you're trying to understand, how does that person feel? And maybe it was a person that was trying to bring forth their character. They just probably didn't do a good job of doing it. You know, because you can kind of tell when somebody's not fully in character, you know? And so it just, I don't know. I think that kind of just took away from it, you know, the energy of the entire show, because it just didn't like transition well, and you were just trying to, I feel like when you're looking at a character, you shouldn't be wondering like, why they acting like that, or why they doing it like that, you know? Because then I feel like that character isn't really like, should that person have been playing that part? It's kind of like what comes to mind. But yeah, that's my favorite on it.
So I want to say something about the adultification.
Yeah.
So it kind of piggybacks off what my co said, and about Izzy's character. How when you first saw Izzy in the first couple episodes, she was the more, hardcore one, and then episode 3, it switched for her character for that particular thing of her dancing with her friends, and then after that she went back more towards the kind of hardcore one that's stepping into her womanhood, because she was like, yo, I don't want to go over the sleepover because, dude mentioned her breasts or whatever, and it was uncomfortable for her. And I feel like the reason when he said that, that's what made it click, why I think that whole scene didn't fit for me, because yes, it's not talked about, and it definitely should be talked about, but for some reason that it didn't feel right. And I think the reason why is because it should have been on the oldest daughter, who was the socialite, more, because they've already talked about, and I don't remember which episode it was, where she was outside in her bikini and he mentioned it, and brought it up to Joya, his wife, and everything like that. I feel like that would have fit her character more, because she's the one that's on social media more and doing that. I feel like that right there would have fit more together than doing it with Izzy, because like I said, it just, the way they were building her character through the couple of episodes before that, it just took a 180, and then boom, it went back to the other way. Like she went back to the same way she was after that. So it's just like, I said that, that's, and it's like, it didn't hit me at first until he mentioned it. I was like, yeah, that's why it feels that way for me, is because for that episode, her character did a 180, and then the end of the episode, she went right back to the way she was, and it was just like, what was the point of that?
It wasn't
yeah. But for the oldest, for the one that's in college, the one that's the social, like that would have fit her storyline so much better, because she's the one that was actually doing. They already mentioned a few things about her on social media with the bikini and then the purple hair and his whole little tidbit about the purple hair. That would have matched so much better, and I think that would have came off a lot better for me when I was watching it.
So I know Ashley, you had something. I want to comment real quick. But that's my argument though. Like that's still a stigma that we're creating on young Black girls. Like you can't twerk, but you can. You have purple hair. You have on a bikini like that. Like that is describing adultification. Like we are monitoring Black. Right. And young Black girls, that erases their childhood. And to be honest with you, if you think about it, I didn't really have those conversations. I can't speak for every other Black girl, but it was hard to have those conversations with my mom or anyone older, because they really didn't have the knowledge that they have to know what we know today. And I'm still going to stand on it. I'm going to stick to it. Like for them to highlight their children. I mean, we had the sensitive son, we had the rebellious son, we had the masculine daughter, we had the social media daughter, and then we had the bookworm filmmaker. Like those are, how do you balance that? And what does that look like with wealth? What does it look like with having these resources? How attached are you to the culture? How, focused are you on knowing down to your roots? And I just feel like that all of that showed that in Black as Fuck for me. But Ashley has something to say.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I feel like I understand what y'all are saying about Izzy and her character kind of doing the 180. I feel like her doing the 180 is what was able to bring that situation to light, because that wasn't her character. You know what I mean? Like homegirl, the other girl, she's older. You know what I'm saying? Like although they notice, her social media presence and how she chooses to express herself, she's older, and she's out here and making her own decisions in a sense. As far as this younger child, Izzy, she she came off as really tough, and then all of a sudden she's out here showing skin and shaking ass and doing it,
with her friends,
with white girls. And then putting it on social media. Like that was an extreme. An extreme situation, and you couldn't do anything but notice it. You know what I mean? Like homegirl, like The older girl, she was already doing it. She probably been doing that for a while. They used to that as far as her character and probably think she's okay to handle that. But Izzy, to just go from being butch to like trying to be a girl and
Man,
like be a hot girl at that, like
with white girls.
kind of like immediately. So that was my take. But I completely understand how it felt so abrupt.
Yeah.
But that's how that episode happened. Being whatever happened with her and her friend. Maybe it could have flowed a little bit better. It could have been written probably better. But I think it happening to that character made sense because of who the character was for
Mm-hmm.
me.
And
I mean I got it, and
yeah.
maybe it's because I'm a woman that I get that, you know what I'm saying? It might be different coming from a male point of view. They just might not have seen it. Maybe they're already, kind of in the brainwashing of, seeing girls in a certain way already. I don't know, but it made sense to me for Izzy just because uh of her how her character was presented before.
True.
But that's all.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would say I think one of the biggest positives was I'm glad that the characters grew. Now the way they went about it, it didn't really flow too well, but I did like that each character from the beginning of the season to the end went through some type of journey, and now they're have a different outlook. For instance, like you were saying, what was the bookworm one name? The filmmaker.
Yeah.
Now she's like really
She was trying
questioning.
to turn up, yeah.
Yeah. Like, should I turn up? Like, we learn about how she feels about her sister, and the one that was really sensitive, really showing courage by the end, and then
Yeah.
Kenya and his wife, really having a different outlook on their marriage now than they did at the beginning of the season. I thought that was
And that was good too. Like for the mom's Rashida's character Joya, for her to be, she kept, and this is something that I heard often from Black women. I carried 6 kids. Like she said that probably in each episode. Like I carried your 6 kids, and it's hard for me trying to come from being a lawyer to write this book and still be a badass and still be relevant, and then it's like also. They showed a unison in the beginning when they were with like their white friends, and they were they were talking about it's lit. No, it's Liddy. Like the white folks was so weird. That was so weird and uncomfortable. But yeah, anybody else? What other characters that led you all to feel some type of way? Or
Michael had something he wanted to chime in.
Oh, Michael.
I did want to speak to your point, T, of it being so many different dynamics with the kids, because you have these different personalities, and like none of them are just stencils of like there's no one way to parent all of them. Each one is their own human being that you have to address in a certain way. So I wanted to bring in the fact that one thing I did like was how when everything went down with Izzy, the mom was confused on how to address it. And I liked how Chloe gave her some advice saying, like, you can't come at her and just attack her because then she's going to shut down and never talk to you again.
And then going to still do it, yeah.
Exactly. You want to build that bridge of open communication. I think that would be, and she was saying basically that would be more beneficial for the future for a relationship. So I definitely did like that. But I want to ask everybody, how did y'all feel about the episode with Purple Hair when they was doing Molly and then Chloe was doing weed? How y'all feel about that? That's what I want to bring to the conversation.
Now, I'm not even a parent, but I have a lot of friends who are parents, and I know that it's a thing where you have to connect with your inner child. But when it gets conflicted with your inner child, while you're in your inner child and then you're addressing your actual child, it's like, fuck, how do I bridge this gap? Or how do I, divide that I'm still the parent and you're the child? I don't know. I think that's healthy to me. Like, whenever I become a parent, I think that bridging gap and understanding, like, what are you feeling? What are you going through? What's making you want to do weed? What's making you want to do Molly? Like, let's talk about that. Because they both were like, are you high? Are you high? Are you high?
Yeah, that was funny.
So yes, I am a parent, and let me tell you, we need to escape sometimes. Whether
Yeah.
that's through a girls' night out, whether that's through a twerk session, whatever that is, parents need to escape. And in this form, they, obviously they was about that life before the kids came along, and so they just went back to what felt good to them beforehand.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't see a problem with it personally. I probably might go back to some of my old pastimes when I get a chance. Um, but I've had conversations with my child. My child is 9. And I was so excited when I saw the preview for Black as Fuck. I was like, fuck yeah, me and my son, we're gonna watch this. Like, we like a lot of the same shows. Like, we watch The Office together and stuff. And I
Aw.
just gotta, it's humor that goes over his head, but he's into sarcasm and what. Once I taught him about sarcasm, he definitely tried to use it all the time. But with this show, he didn't get into it. He was like, "This is boring." I mean, Kenya was ranting in the first episode, so like he was already bored. But I do use these shows as opportunities to talk to my kid about real life stuff. Just it to me is better to give the kid information and let them make decisions for themselves
Yeah.
versus keeping them sheltered and away from it. And so we've talked about, drugs and why, the different reasons that people use them. And so, to kind of bring this back, yes, parents need an escape, and sometimes that might come in the form of drug use, and partying with young people. They probably could have picked a better environment, but going to Coachella or something like
Yeah.
that and doing smoking weed, doing Molly, where you feel safe and whatnot. Hey, do what you got to do so that you can come back and be a better parent.
There
Look,
you go.
look.
I
Really
was just trying to figure out
so
why
you can
Molly.
be
They
okay.
went straight, they passed up everything else. Like, we go straight to Molly. I was
I mean,
like, okay,
I
all
mean,
right.
Molly makes you, I mean, I don't know from experience personally, but from what I understand, Molly makes you feel good if you are in a good place.
mm,
That's what I hear. And mushrooms too, but
shrooms, yeah.
But I think this particular, I don't know, maybe the guy who brought up the event told them that like Molly is the preferred choice of drug for this event. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Like someone suggested it, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
the drug transaction was hella funny though. When they was scouting the guy, he was like, "I don't. How much do you have on you? Like $300. Why do you have $300?" That was hella funny. But yeah. Any other characters and stuff and whatnot?
Somebody had their hand raised. They was wanted to chime in.
Netta or Carrie?
Yeah.
Yeah, scary.
I kind of want to bounce back to Izzy real quick.
Yeah.
I feel like there was what we witnessed with her development as a character was just something new to this generation of preteens, where they're in a society where your sexual identity isn't gonna be questioned as much as it was growing up when we was in middle school.
True.
So like, I could, if I came in one day just like how Izzy was, just one day in my middle school setting, I would have been the lesbian stud. I would have been dragged from here to there. But because I'm a teacher too, so Izzy experience, like she reminded me of one of my kids. One minute want to be really feminine, next minute want to be like very masculine because she's trying to find and discover herself. And I feel like that's what the mom was trying to get to. Like, I don't know her yet, because she's at that developing stage. And to also go forward about the drugs as well, as someone who partakes in the herbal essence with their father, I believe that's one of the things I liked about the show was the type of relationships that the kids had. It was no behind the back, having to keep a secret. They were very upfront with their parents. And so even in a moment like where they clearly are both high, Chloe felt comfortable and vulnerable enough with her in the midst of it to say, to have that vulnerable moment about just about being high. And then of course, mom getting taken out in the stretcher didn't help out. But it also normalized, and it reminds our kids that we are humans as well, because as parents, we've seen that parents are seen as these superheroes, subhuman. And to see that point of not only are you a human, you've been through what I've been through, makes the child more open to sharing those moments with their parent. Because they're going to do it. I mean, Chloe's going to smoke the weed anyway. But to have that ability to be in the middle of a club and talk to your daddy about it, like, that's a strong relationship.
Netta, you had something
And
to
then
say?
they both had that, and to piggyback off that, Carrie, they both had that guilt. Like, for you to guilt your parent, and for your parent, we understand how your parent would be like, "Are you high?" But for you to turn it around and be like, "Are you high?" And it's like, oh, like, damn, like, y'all really, and then y'all both kind of just be like, "Well, I'm gonna walk away." Like, what?
Right. That episode was like a little too close to home.
Yeah, like, we'll talk about it later, But yeah. Anything else, y'all, before we transition?
I still want to stick on characters a little bit more.
Okay.
Trying to figure out how I want to word this.
This pause.
Because like
you thought it froze up. I'm like, damn.
it's
Wi-Fi fucking up. You
right. Is everything good?
Nah,
damn, can you hear us?
It goes back to what you were saying when you were mentioning how does Black people with money act.
Yeah.
And and when you said that, it made me think of King as a character, because I felt like that's what makes me think like what was a different name for the show, because it felt like the show was about him realizing he's stepped away from his Blackness since the money's been involved. Because I think that was one of the there was a lot of points that was made throughout the show because of that. Basically, it was like each episode.
When he invited his family and Mike Epps was like,
yeah. And especially when Joey was like, invite your family, not mine, because yours is Blacker. And it's just like, it felt like, his character was trying to find his Blackness again, because he's let the money take it from him. He's let the money take it from him, and he's let, trying to appease. Because he even mentioned himself in, I think it was episode 5, when he was like, when did I become so addicted to trying to please, the white critics and the white audience and blah, blah, blah.
Is that not what Black people do, though?
True. That is true. It's something we need to get out of, and I felt like I'm trying to figure out how to work this again to make this all make sense. I really didn't feel like at the end, I didn't even read what she said. I didn't get a chance to, but
because we are. I'm sorry. Continue, Cam.
Just go on. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, Cam. No, because this is exactly what we're doing. As you just said, we are essentially reenacting episode 5, reviewing Black Art. Remember when he was reviewing the art? He was like, "You get it, right?" And then it took the artist to be like, "It's the concept of like everything that's like whatever he said." And then it was funny because me and Netta were together watching it, and when the artist actually broke down the whole painting and shit, then it was like, "Oh, now you get it. Now it makes sense." What make it make sense now? I'm like, shit, like the imagery that he's giving, and I feel like that's what this Black as Fuck is. It's just imagery of some shit we don't know nothing about, that we can't necessarily say that ain't Black. because you just stated like he's coming from his blackness, or not, he's trying to reconnect with his blackness. What better way to reconnect with your blackness, which is probably something Kenya Barris is probably struggling with, because he does have a wife named Rainbow, well, ex-wife or whatever. He got mixed kids and all of this shit. Like, his life is put out there, and what better way to reconnect with the culture by sharing what you know best, which is yourself.
I mean, that's true. I still wouldn't name the show Black as Fuck. Like, that's I'm not changing that. That does not for me. Like, it doesn't at all. It's like I said, I watched the show. I laughed. I enjoyed it. But at the same time, after watching, I was like, this title just doesn't fit for me. Like,
that's my argument. How come it don't? We don't know all of what Black looks like. We know what we know in our closest perimeter, of people and things in neighborhood. But what does that? How can we say that's not a Black thing? That's not Black as fuck. Like, y'all basically saying, for everyone who was like, it was kind of all over the place, Black as fuck. I mean, Black folk can be sloppy with things that we are not familiar with, which is having wealth. You know what I'm saying? If we're not grown into it and we're not, educated on how to do it, and trying to educate our children and balance that in the image. And I don't know. That's just continuously my question. And I think I'm just super open-minded about everything. But Ashley, you was about to say something.
I need to see what she said in the chat.
Okay, so for those of y'all who say that Black as Fuck does not fit the show, what would y'all have named it? Ooh. And what did you expect to see if you were, disappointed or surprised by what you saw? I'll say this: when I saw the show, when I saw the previews, and I saw Kenya, I was like, oh shit, it's gonna be his real family. Like, oh shit, I'm excited. Then I saw Rashid. I was like, yeah. Is he married to Rashid? Like, I did not know who Kenya was before this show. So I wasn't aware that he was behind Blackish and stuff like that. Oh. And so I was kind of excited to think that I was gonna get like an inside look at like his life. And then it was something different. So I was disappointed on that point, where I thought it was going to be more of an actual documentary versus a mockumentary. But it was still entertaining. And then for me, it was good to see Rashida Jones do something different for me personally. And I like the aesthetics of it. I do like, high-end, upper class type of thing. So I like seeing Black people in these types of environments without having to shuck and jive for it so much. So, I mean, again, I enjoyed it. And but again, I can see everybody else's disagreements or issues with it, though, too, at the same time.
True. So, Netta, you had something you wanted to share.
So, to your point, see, from like the more broad perspective, maybe he named it Black as Fuck as a more of an affirmation to himself, as opposed to trying to, I don't know, maybe it was more of an affirmation, because it was telling his story, or like Ashley said, like a mockumentary of his life. So then maybe Black as Fuck, this is through his eyes of what he thought Black was, and his struggle, like you said, his struggle of trying to find that balance of what Black as Fuck really is.
Right.
And so this is his journey of trying to explain how he sees Black as Fuck and what does that mean for him and his family, and the constant battle that we all as Black people have to try to understand what Black as Fuck is. Because in certain, like they say, every level got his devils. And so in his eyes, maybe his devil was white people and people pleasing and things like that. And so him trying to be authentically himself, also trying to climb up the career ladder and provide his family with security and comfort, but then also trying to make sure that he is still connected with his Black roots. Like when I don't know what episode that was, but when he invited his whole family to his crib for that party or whatever. So I don't know. I just think that maybe it's more of an affirmation, and him trying to understand how he defines being Black as Fuck more so than it is him than what we are used to, you know, or him portraying what Black as Fuck means for everyone.
Netta, that was nice. I'm definitely gonna roll up on that note. That yes, I definitely got to smoke on that behalf. I like that. That was a way to sum that up. They just put a cherry on top of this black ass Sunday. You see what I did there?
My code has some.
My coat.
I do agree, Bonetta. That's a great depiction of, I feel like, what they were doing their best to portray. But to answer your question, Ashley, I don't feel like I'm the best at coming up with titles, but for the feeling I constantly felt after every episode that I watched, it was like a question mark for some reason. So I feel like an appropriate title would be like, "Are we Black enough?" Because in his rants, it sounded like he was complaining, and he was like almost like looking for validation, not just from himself, but from his family, from his peers, from his intern, but also like in the episode with Tyler Perry, he was looking at him like he wasn't an established, successful writer already. He was looking at him like, I just wrote my first piece. Like, am I good enough now? Am I Black enough now? I got this chain. Am I Black enough now? I got a Black wife. I got this and that. Like, am I good enough
the
now?
Lambo.
You know what I'm saying? So it was just.
In the very first episode, he talked about that. When they talked about the Sunday's best and how it stemmed from slavery, and the only time that we felt that the Black folk felt good was when they were in their Sunday's best, so their slave owners can show up to the other white slave owners, because presentation equals acceptance. It was like he was like, I got the car, I got the clothes, I got the family, I got the money, but am I good enough? And that Tyler Perry episode that was raw. But I like that. It
was.
That, am I Black enough? Like, or Black
Yeah.
enough?
And I do want to add to that point of like, I want to ask the group, do you guys feel like this is a depiction of being rich or wealthy? Because my definition of wealthy has less to do with money and more to do with self.
They were frivolous in
My man's bought an island.
Because
my man's bought a PJ just to stunt and bought an island.
I was tripping off the party bags when he was like, "What? Your AirPods and Tiffany bracelets, and those were party favorites." She was like, "Yeah, they're just swag bags." Never. Frugal over frivolity, or whatever you call it, frivolousness. I don't know, but that shit, yeah.
This Bonetta. So I feel like, you know, with the swag bags and stuff, like sometimes we only kind of like see life through our own eyes, you know, because they have money, you know what I'm saying, like long money. So a Tiffany watch or AirPods, you know, putting it in a swag bag is nothing. And that's just from being around people like that go to MICDS and all this kind of stuff. And like gifting your friend AirPods for her birthday is nothing. Like that's like going to Five Below. So it's just like for them, money wasn't a problem. So then it was more so, okay, I can't define the Black struggle because I got money now. So then now I have to figure out what about me is Black. And that's why I feel like I like the title, Are We Black? Because most Black people define Blackness out of struggle, whether in how we have been innovative and creative in making do with what we have. So then when money is not a problem, what defines me as being Black? So yeah, anyway, I like that, the new title, and I think
the new title. We got to tag Kenya Barrett,
y'all. I'm gonna tag in Miss Henderson Ashley next, but to answer Ashley's question, I couldn't, like, at first when I couldn't figure out another title for it. It was just, but honestly, like my Black enough fits. It fits because, like I said, it felt like through the whole series, he was trying to rekindle his Blackness because he felt like he lost it being where he's at now. And Black enough, that fits a whole lot better than Black as Fuck for me.
Black enough. I like that.
Yeah. But that was just my little 2 cents. Ms. Henderson, you had your hand up. Unmute yourself and tag in. You knew.
Hey, this is Carrie.
Oh, come on now.
I'm on my computer now. Well, again, I'm a big fan of Blackish. So while watching this, I just kept on comparing the two. And in my opinion, Blackish is more black as fuck than Black as Fuck. And like, just look at how Dre, the dad of Blackish, handles and checks white people in a way where I felt like Kenya was like kind of looking for them for validation. Where Dre, and it could be because he is annoying. Actually annoying. So that they both are equally annoying, but it's the way that Drake goes about it and the way that he handles situations that has a sense of maturity level that wasn't present in Black as Fuck. And I don't know if it could just be the sarcasm and the way they was talking, but those two main characters, the way those two main characters are portrayed, like, and then too, you know, Dre is a Howard alum, so that could have played a part because we don't know where Kenya graduated from, but Andre graduated from Howard, and that's a big foundation, just blackness in general. Whereas when Kenya talked about blackness, it always was slavery. Dre never talks about slavery. All right, that's it. I just love Dre.
All Howard alum, please exit.
Anybody else who wanted to chime in on that one?
I do want to speak again on the wife. She brought up like a very valid but funny point on like getting her black card pulled in question, and she was saying like, "Do y'all know all the Wayans brothers' names? Because I sure don't." But she did, so it's like going to those extreme measures in that way just to prove, like, you know what I'm saying, if we are black enough, I think it's a great concept to speak about because, like you said, T, it is so vast, and like the painting, like it's up to interpretation based on your lifestyle, based on your economic and financial place, based on your environment, and based on like what your faith is, if you have any faith at all. So I feel like I think the one thing I did like that Ashley said was that she actually had conversations with her 9-year-old like about different things, and I think that's the best for me. That's the best takeaway from this show is if you actually do have those conversations, because they do speak on very relevant topics in 2020 that most shows don't. So like I can say applaud that aspect of the show.
So can I add to that? I think the best thing about this show is that it's I guess controversial for our community to make us talk. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all said, is bringing up, you know, topics that aren't really addressed and that aren't being talked about that should be talked about a lot more in our very own community, less alone just like for entertainment or whatever, but like these are conversations that we should be having with our children and not just pushing them out into the world and having them figure things out for themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like you know,
Truth up now.
Sorry.
Well, we'll wait.
Sorry. I think that's all I got. I lost my train of thought now. But
it happens.
I like that it's bringing up talking points for our community.
Yeah.
I think it's being progressive in that sense. And okay, so here was my point. So like the parenting style of like how y'all said, the mom kind of caters to each child in for their personality.
Yeah.
I believe very strongly in that, and I think Black families don't do that enough. I think we all just like, well, our parents probably before us were very much so like, this is what I said, and it's the same for everybody. Versus if you have a large family or just like multiple children, like even two kids can be totally different from each other. You have to, you know, accommodate that in different ways versus if you have a son or a daughter or a very outgoing child or a very what's the word, introverted child, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to cater to that in different ways. And I think, you know, I guess that show with Izzy, or just like the show in general, how they approach each child with whatever issue is going on is something new for Black parents to kind of look at. And I don't know if that's a privilege type of thing where you're not stressed out about trying to make ends meet, that you got the time and the mental space and the capacity, emotional capacity to cater to your different children's needs, or you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, but it's definitely not something that is happening enough within our community.
It's
So,
not. I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So I just want us to be mindful about the time. We got about 13 minutes left with everything. So Kev, do we want to transition into briefly talk about for cinematography, or did you just want to?
I mean, we can scratch that, to be honest.
Yeah, we can wrap it. Okay, yeah.
We can scratch that. What was I about to say?
What's something positive that that was a great takeaway from you for Black as Fuck? Even though it wasn't like the name, the title didn't really match the show, but what was some great takeaways that you could honestly say were relatable or good?
Like I said, I like the show. I laughed. I like the show. Like I said, those were just things that stood out to me. I was just like, that just, certain things felt forced and the title just didn't match. Those are like the only really major things for me. Everything else was fine. Episode 5 was my favorite. And it was my favorite probably because of what it touched on about us actually critiquing Black art instead of just giving it a pass because it's Black art. We just want to see it out there. That was my reason why that was my favorite episode of the 8. Not because, it was, all the other actors in there, which was dope and they were funny, but that was the biggest thing because that was something that I talk about now with other people, and I've mentioned before with you and E. But like I said, overall, I like the show. I like how they actually put the argument between Kenya and Joya, and I like, when he got the separate room and he was, trying to be extra, and she was sitting there chilling, eating pizza, like, I'm good. You can be by yourself. I'm good. I'm straight.
You can go ahead and charge up another room. Fuck you, nigga.
Right. So it was a lot of things that I liked about the show. Like I said, those stuff I mentioned was just minor, but that was just how I felt.
Like I said, I'm still standing on it. I feel like the culture need to look at all types of perspectives of what Black as Fuck looks like, and I feel like this one should not be miscounted. This one should not be taken away because again, it's not it. We should be past the narrative of can we please the Black culture, because I'm learning everybody gonna always have an opinion about some shit. But at the end of the day, can we always make a sound judgment on the fact that, hey, this Black man put out his story about his mixed ass life. You can't please everybody. And I think that's the biggest thing that us as writers, creators, and whatever it is that we are trying to be, you can't please everybody. So continue doing what you do best, which is definitely sharing your story. And also, I still feel like he still had some Black dad moments, especially when they got on the island, and then when the sister and the boyfriend was like, "This is our room," and he was like, "No, the fuck it ain't." He was like, "I'm cool, but I ain't that cool. Like, get your ass on." Like, that was funny.
Hold on, so we talk about the island. Why ain't nobody mention how my man sat there and almost let his wife drown him? That girl was like, "Hold up. Wait."
Because it's Drew, like, bro, but that was a test of their love. So I understood, and she did that. Like, women do that. I can't speak for everybody's, but
I just thought Kenya was a trash character for that one.
We want to be supported. We want to be taken care of. And is it because the money and the image is taking you away from, loving me? And, like, I mean, that shit is real. Like, babe, we got money now, but do you remember my birthday? Like, he didn't even know all his kids' birthdays. He straight said, like, "Oh, you're a game 6, baby." What?
At that point, I was like, dude's trash now. I was like, he's trash. I was like, my man sat
your
there for like 5 minutes, like, wait, let me. I was like, oh my God, it's trash.
But also, how did you all feel about the comment when they arrived on the scene, when they arrived on the island and they were all like looking around? It was like, oh, this is a fun game to play. Can you spot? Can you spot the black family?
folk.
They saw they saw the African family. They was like, eh. And then it was like Africans treat us like African Americans like stepchildren or some shit that they said. That was.
I mean, it's real. I sat down at a event with people from Nigeria and Africa, and and it was a very interesting dialogue, and that's how I would say it was like some people from Africa look down on people from here, and then vice versa. So that was a real thing,
I like that. Yeah. Ashley, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think that's just more of the Larry David influence that Kenya reminded me of George Costanza. Just very pessimistic at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the ranting and the complaining and whatnot. So yeah. But I like all those shows. I like all the shows that I feel like Kenya was referencing. I just don't know that many of the Black community know these references, and so it may have been lost on them and why they didn't connect with it. Like it's not their type of humor, their type of funny or something that they're familiar with, because we don't see Black shows with this type of humor on screen often. You know what I mean? But I got it. And I enjoyed it.
Me too.
It was like, yeah, this nigga trash, but it's funny though. And I relate. I'm trash sometimes. I know that. I can accept that. And there are other parents out here that's trash. So like, I'm not judging them for doing Molly. Like, hey, we might have trash parenting moments where we want to be really selfish and just take a moment for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know how many snacks my mama hid from me and was like, bruh, you can't fucking have none. I'm like, yo, what?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't share food. That's
I get it.
My son gets his own snacks. If he wants to eat them all in one day, that's on him. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are trash parents out there that's like that for real. Doesn't mean that they don't love and won't take care of their kids, but sometimes they're gonna be selfish. Like, we're not super parents, we're not inhuman, like we're imperfect too. And I think this show brings that to light. Like it's not all, I don't know it's not Leave It to Beaver. Like these aren't perfect parents. And I think we need to see more of that to let you know, like, it's okay to cuss. Like, I'm not gonna cuss at my child and call him, a bad name.
A dickhead.
Yeah. In my head, I'm saying that though. Like, let's be real. Like, parents is talking like this in their head about their kids or to their friends. Like, yes, kids are assholes. They are. But you don't want to say that to their face. But you got to tell them, hey, man, you not, sweet all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you make this shit hard sometimes.
I want to cuss a couple students out.
Hey, it's some Kenya Barrises out here in Central West End that needed to hear and watch and see. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody is telling a story that somebody can relate to I'm talking from word, character from character, lyric for lyric, whatever you want to put it as. Like that.
Bar for bar.
Bar for bar.
Bar for bar.
So we're down to 5 minutes left.
I know if he want to give his.
I'm sorry, did you want to give a spiel
about his positives?
Prediction? Are we on predictions now?
Oh, we just doing positives.
Yeah,
positives. Oh no, I definitely think he was being real to himself. I guess him now in that status is being, rich and making money from like Next Top Model and Blackish and all that. But I think him being true to himself, I kind of appreciated that vulnerability, because a lot of people wouldn't. They probably would have faked it or something like that. But he kind of kept true to what his family looks like, and I thought it was cool. The writing, and and part of his vulnerability was probably like a con, like his acting. I was like, bro, we could have like ended this scene like 2, 3, 4 minutes ago. But no, I thought it was cool though. 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. I give an 8 out of 10. I give it 8 out of 10.
My code.
Are we doing ratings right now?
We can.
Well,
Yeah.
you can give your rating and then your positive, what you pull from it. From the
I
episode
had one more question because y'all was speaking on parenting, and I wanted to know what you guys thought about the difference between the dads getting praised. I mean, the moms getting praised more than the dads. When his wife came to the job, and they was like, "Oh, Joya, da 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 da," and then when like she left, like he wasn't getting no love.
I think that was more ego for him because
Yeah, I think that was just more so how his coworkers feel about him. It was like, oh, here's like the good side of you, your wife.
I think it was a mix of ego for the character.
Yeah.
And also how they played it as things was always a competition with them. Because you remember, well, you probably didn't because you didn't watch that, but the episode where they were trying to figure out the vacation spot, and they both had the conversation, was like, yeah, let's choose Fiji. And she was like, we're going to Fiji. It was totally my idea. He was like, what? What do you mean? He was like, what are you talking about? And then that competition came back, and I think that was something. I think maybe that's something they've written for those two characters to kind of build into their argument of him having issues with her going, her not doing the lawyer stuff and doing, finding her dream and becoming, an author and things like that. I think that was all kind of built into their character's journey. Yeah. And I think that episode was the start of it. Was the real kickstart into that little division they had with arguments and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to ask about it because I know like it was an interesting topic to me because I feel like in different scenarios, like moms do get praised for like a lot of the jobs, but at the same time, like they don't have to carry dads don't have to carry the child, so it's like that's almost incomparable in certain scenarios. But as far as a rating, I give it a 5.5 out of 10. I ain't gonna lie to you, it wasn't my favorite.
Any other ratings?
Final comments?
I'm gonna get a 7 out of 10. I'm not done with the series though. Like I ain't on the part about the trip, so I'm very interested and excited about that.
Bet. Netta?
I probably would give it like a 7 out of 10. I feel like if they work out the transitions, a 7 out of 10. I feel like if they work out the transitions and, him not talking so much, I think that like making his comments a little shorter, then it could go up. But I wonder if they're gonna bring out another one. That would be interesting.
I think I want to learn more about what it's like being Black and wealthy, and also being Black and wealthy, like Ashley stated, without the shucking and jiving. That's rare. Like this show don't highlight them being in the hood. This ain't got it doesn't really have too much toxicity other than the fact that they are trying to figure out how to balance being Black or staying connected to their Blackness while having wealth, and then having access to shit that like they families don't have. Like, I think I want to see more of it. I do. I definitely do.
I think that was something that I really appreciated was that, like you said, they connected their family to it, like how they are like wealthy, but their family may not be wealthy, and how do they balance that out? Because I know like for some of us who, want to be at that level, sometimes on their way up, you are looking at your family like, dang, and it's like that survivor's guilt. And so it was cool to kind of see them navigate that. Like, did they have survivor's guilt, or, did they compromise themselves when they came around their family, or did they, keep their same outlook or their same prestige or whatever, So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, can everyone drop their emails inside of the chat box so that way we can keep you updated with our next Zoom Room? It's going to be great. And that's also Writers Not Biters' birthday.
There will be champagne that day.
Yes, we will be popping bottles.
Glass.
Discussing what's on the agenda. I think what's next?
It's Insecure. The first 4 episodes of season 4.
So we got some things to talk about. Side note, y'all. Okay, so the episode And I'm a little tipsy. Okay. So the episode where the cousin was like, hey, yo, he was like pitching him a show that he
That
wanted
was
to
dope.
write. Yeah. He was like, it's like, what he say? It's Tootsie versus Joanna Man. Okay. Did anybody else like, damn, I ain't watched Joanna Man in a minute. Did y'all watch Joanna Man recently? Since then?
I ain't watch it, but I was like,
No,
bro,
but I
that's real.
definitely
He
thought
was like,
about it. Like,
I watched it and it's really good. Like, I mean, I watched it back then, but when you ain't seen a movie in a long time, you're like, I don't remember shit in that movie.
mm-hmm.
That shit hella funny. Like, okay, but that's off topic. But
I mean, he had a valid point though. He had a valid point. He was like, it's just Miss Doubtfire, just with a black man,
yeah,
But
he was stating facts. He was like, what's the difference? Like, but yeah.
yeah.
So closing out. Anything else that anybody want to say, touch on? Ashley's not a fan of Joanna Man. Okay.
Yeah, if y'all ever do a review of Joanna Man or something about, men dressing up
Probably
as
not.
women, I'd love to
Ooh.
talk about that.
Men dressing up as women.
Now we can do that,
For
yeah.
entertainment. Yeah. So yeah, let's do that. Martin as Shawana or Shanae and all that.
Yeah, and Big Mama's House and all of that, because the guy, wasn't it Brandon T. Jackson? He stated like, once I put on a dress, like my career changed. Do you think that happens in Hollywood for black men? And that's something we definitely need to talk about.
Yes.
Well, we could talk about that because it's happening on like Nickelodeon and Disney on the shows that my son watched. So yeah, let's talk
Really?
about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they got kids, like white kids are doing it too. So yeah, I'd love to talk about it.
Oh, that's deep. Okay, let's put that on the docket.
You know
Well,
it's getting
Yeah.
serious when them white kids get a hold of it.
yeah,
Right, like I had to re-examine my thoughts about it. I was like, oh, they trying to emasculate the black man, and like, oh, hold up, they got these white kids doing it too now.
Yeah.
Oh, let me
That's
reevaluate what's going on here.
that's
That's because they seen, I think at one point in time, yeah, it was one of those career enders. But then when you got Vine and Twitter and all that coming up, and then you have all these people gaining notoriety and fans, and a lot of them were black people
black
doing
men,
it, black men that were doing
mocking
it.
black women. Yeah.
They were getting a lot of popularity off of it. So it's just like, oh, I think it's that same switch. It was like, oh, we can make money off this now. Oh, okay, let's use it now. Because before, like you said, with Brandon T, he was just, I seen that interview. He was just like, yeah, it kind of killed my career. But now when you have so many people that are doing it and getting so many retweets and all this, and reposts and all that, and they making so much money off of it, they're like, oh, it's profitable. That's the main thing in Hollywood. They won't do it unless it's profitable. Once they see it's profitable, it's like, oh, we can use this now. We can play around with it. And I think that's what it goes into, what you were saying with the white kids doing it on Disney now, because it's just like, oh, they think it's funny. Well, let's put it in there.
Yeah, I don't like how it started because of course it started with the black woman being the butt of the joke. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
that's my take. But I just wanted to say that I enjoyed this conversation. It was stimulating, and I look forward to more. I am by
Yay.
no means a writer. I am a creative, but like it was helpful for me to think about storytelling from a different point of view. So I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Ashley, and Bonetta, Michael, and Carrie. Like we was praying, like we was like, ooh, we got so much to say, but we hope that people feel the same way we feel. So this is definitely a safe space. It's gonna get more lit, more people, more crazy. It's gonna be awesome, especially when we start highlighting Insecure, especially when Atlanta come back, especially everything else that we watching. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good.
Oh yeah. We got a schedule mapped out for like the next 6 weeks, so it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit.
It's gonna be a weekly thing.
Yep.
That's gonna be every week.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Every Saturday.
Yeah, as long as when is Candyman supposed to
We
be?
don't know, man.
Yeah.
We don't know.
If
It's so
something-
sad right now. The movie streets is harsh.
Yeah, yeah, everything is. It might as well just come straight to stream, but I don't know how much
I don't
money.
think they're gonna do that.
Yeah,
But Jordan Peele and J.J. Abrams do got the Lovecraft joint coming out soon. We can definitely add that. If you haven't peeped the trailer on that one, that looks pretty interesting.
Awesome. So, so if did we get everyone's emails and whatnot, so that way we can send you all some, yes, we did. Awesome. So, moving forward, before we end, is there anything that anybody want to say? Questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, suggestions? You know, this is new for us as we constantly build this house of creatives, and we just want to make sure that it feels right for everybody. Is there an aspect we're missing? We're open to any type of suggestions.
I do want to say I thoroughly enjoy it, because a lot of the times, like, I'm watching these shows and I'm having my own thoughts and everything, but I feel like I don't always have the group of people to go to talk about it, and also, like, you know, receive that constructive criticism from points of view I didn't even, you know, see. So I definitely do thank you all for putting this together. It was not just informative and educational, but also, like, entertaining. And I do want to suggest a movie that I recently saw on Netflix called Sprinter. If anybody's seen that, it's fire.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
That's the track and field one?
Yeah.
My mom was telling me about that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I got any space on the calendar for it, but I'd love to talk about that one too.
I mean, we can add it. We can always add it. It might be further down
another one that I think is really cool that we should talk about, and that was on our agenda too, is Sailor and the Spades. That was like a black Mean Girls movie. Yeah. More deeper and a little bit darker. So
that's week 4. That's for everyone. That's week 4.
Is that an African American movie, or is that an African movie?
No, it's an African American.
I heard some accents in there, and that be turning me off sometimes.
Not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it had Jarrell Jerome in it. It had the main black girl. I think she was just regularly black. And then the light skinned girl, the other black girl. Yeah, I think they were just black. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just, Netflix started adding a lot of international.
Oh, it's on Amazon.
This ain't on Netflix.
Films. Yeah.
Oh, wait, no? Okay.
Yeah, this is on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's about a black girl at a boarding school, and she's like the boss bitch, and she kind of mean. So it's really good. It was good.
Okay.
I forgot the director's name, but she did real good.
Yeah, it was like
Tabitha.
Like Tabitha Tanae or something like that. It was
something like that.
Yeah, it was a cousin.
It was a name.
It was a cousin.
Yeah. But for those that are in here, we are reviewing Sailor in the Spades week 4. So just to let y'all know.
Yes. And we will, the reason why we ask for you all's emails is because we will be sending these agendas out, even if you can't make it, just to let you know, hey, this is what we're talking about. And, bloop, just jump in when you want it. And we'll always post, so just follow each of us on social media. Definitely Writers Not Biters. And if you know anybody else who's interested in talking about these type of things, because that's all we do is watch TV and be like, bro, I want to talk about that. Like, okay, let's talk about it. And here we are. So here's this place for it.
And if you do miss, like I said, we do are busy that day. The reason why we do record these is for that purpose, so we can throw it up on YouTube. So if you aren't available to watch it, to join in that Saturday, you can go on Sunday and watch it, and still get to see what we were talking about in the session and everything like that.
Word.
I do have one suggestion. It was a little difficult finding the Zoom for me at first, because I went on your page, Kev, and for some reason it said it was in another room, and then I went to the writers room page, and I still couldn't find it. I had to go to T page in order to find the actual Zoom.
Okay, we'll get that figured out.
Okay, yeah, and you know what? It could have been because we had did like a meeting before the meeting, because there was a thing that was keeping us from starting this meeting. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I do know once we start, and I guess we'll put that in the agenda too, when it comes down to like the 10 minutes up until we're about to start, because we'll always do Saturdays at 7 p.m. I will just post the link up. We'll update the link in all of our bios, and that should send you straight to join the meeting. I noticed that it works better when it's like super close to the time for you to jump right on in.
Got you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, you all have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening, and we hope to see you all next Saturday. It's going to be our WNB birthday, and we're going to be more excited because we got a lot of shit to talk about at Insecure, because boy does it trigger us all. Ooh, so many. But yeah, we wish you all the best, and you all have a beautiful evening. Anything else, Kevin, y'all want to say?
I appreciate y'all coming out.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all so much, and we hope to see y'all next week.
All right.
Yep.
Holla.
Hollers.